I'm not sure if everyone here can see what we've created up here. The tradition of bringing the pictures of the dead started 5 or 10 years ago. I've lost track now. These are the people that we loved and people who loved us. I'm guessing that there are spouses and grandparents and favorite uncles and aunts and children and friends, and I know there were even some pets. Really, everyone we might know is up here. I doubt there are pictures of people who served us coffee at a diner for 10 years or sat in a fire station up the road from us for 40. These pictures are the people that we, in some ways, are intimate with. They are people not who just pass through our lives, but people who pass through us. There's a lesson in this, actually, that maybe if we just attended 5% more to the people who pass through our lives might be a little richer, but that's another sermon. For now, we meditate on these faces. Friends, family, who cared for us, who told us things we didn't want to hear, or just received us with the kind of rare love that is hard to replace. Some of these people gave us more grief alive than dead, actually, if we're honest. Some gave us support, maybe a dose of rejection. Some gave us advice, wanted and unwanted, needed and unneeded. And some of them gave us lessons about how to live, and some of them gave us lessons about how to die. Some of these people, probably almost all of them, gave us a level of acceptance that we needed to grow and to nurture in our hearts. There is a disease in our culture that Mother Teresa calls the greatest disease in the West. She says it's not TB or leprosy, it is being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. She says we can cure physical diseases with medicine, but the only cure for loneliness, despair, and hopelessness is love. She says there are many in the world who are dying for a piece of bread, but there are many more dying for a little love. The poverty in the West, she says, is a different kind of poverty. It is not only a poverty of loneliness, it is also a poverty of spirituality. And I think what she touches on is the reason why this day in some ways is so important. Maybe the loneliness and the hope for some spirituality brings us to this moment where we can make an effort to light a candle or place a photo of someone we loved, because it is a simple act of assurance that we are not alone, that in some ways the dead live, that they are here with us. That also our spiritual hearts can be filled by remembering them in a ritual we do once a year. And in remembering them, we bring them to life. We make them companions that we know we will never touch or hold again except in the heart. And in doing this, we know it is good. I know that for me, putting my picture of my great-grandmother and grandparents of the past is a spiritual act. It reminds me of all that I owe them, courageous people who left villages halfway around the world seeking a better life, running from something we see now emerging again in this country. As I pulled the photo from the sleeve in the book I keep them in, I thought, had they been met with the kind of level of suspicion and the labels that immigrants are being given now, called invaders and criminals, I probably never would have been standing here before you. But placing their picture here is not a political act, it is a act of personal piety. It is a holy act. It reminds me of the moments I had with that great-grandmother over there, born in Russia in a different time, in a different world even. And I remember her wrinkly hand on my cheek. And I remember her sharp wit. And I don't remember much more. But I feel a gratitude for her today. I feel a gratitude. I feel that somehow she and they are still with me, that mostly how I am reminded of the affections and their quirks starts to set a little bit of fire in my heart. It reminds me to be courageous, like people who might go around the world to find a better life. And it begs the question that I ask myself a lot, and that is, what would they want from me? The poet says, when I die, I want you to laugh, like a fall out of your chair, feet in the air, deep, deep belly laugh, and may the memories of our play curve a smile on your face. I think they want that of me. The poet says, I want you to sing, I want you to dance in the kitchen, I want you to play in the park, I want you to sit in the sunset, I want you to watch the stars light the dark. I think they want that from me. And when I think of what they want from me, two lessons emerge through this poem as these loved ones are staring back at us. One is that it's a radical thing just to state what you want in your life. It clears up all kinds of misunderstandings and heartache. And the other is that the imagination, the act of imagining what the dead want from us, can reset our lives in a way that nothing else can. Imagining what these people want from us can save us from ourselves on occasion, I think. That moment when you're about to launch into a tirade against your child or spouse or the guy in the car next to you, I think having the imagination of these people next to us might change our reactions. If you're an alcoholic and you're facing a drink, or you're facing a moral decision in your family, or you're about to act meanly, is that a word, meanly? Towards someone, I think having the imagination of what these people want from us can change who we are in those moments. Can ask us to think what our ancestors hope for us. When I die, the poet says, I want you to rest, and I want you to wake up, and I want you to rest, I want you to wake up until you can take this clay cup and drink the fray up. And I thought as I read that, does he actually mean just wake up and rest, or does he actually mean awake and drink deeply from life? And I think it's the latter. And that's what these people want from us. An act of remembrance is what we do today. It's bringing our ancestors to bear to remind us what we love and how we are loved. To ask ourselves what we belong to. And the church's answer in doing this today is that we belong to something much bigger than the precious lives we hold on to as we walk through our day. We are surrounded by all these people in this room and in the people in our lives, but we are also surrounded by those who have gone. When we make this beautiful human tapestry of love and faith, it reminds us that we are part of a great river of time, not just single moments that we live through. It reminds us that we can't sever our connections with these people unless we forget them, that we can't remove ourselves from this great cloud of witnesses that holds us unless we forget them. And it reminds us that we cannot forget that we belong. And And so today, an act of memory is an act of resistance to the disease of disconnection and spiritual loneliness, and to the loss of faith in the biggest way that means. Because we do a collective act of joy and pain. And it puts us in a position to live into the meaning of the church, the essential meaning of why this place exists at all, to be in communion with each other, the dead, and the holiness that we embody. And to see how connections come to life in creating joy for each other and justice and compassion. So this day should humanize us to each other. We should look around this room and know that each and every one of us share one thing, is that we know something about death and loss. It should remind us that we are held in the hands of a God that we wrestle with or reject, and it should remind us that being here puts us in the way of eternity. Here in this sanctuary today, in this still moment, eternity. My colleague, now retired Unitarian minister Richard Gilbert, wrote this. He said, "We belong to the great community of all souls, a long procession of humanity, stretching back into time beyond our comprehension, sharing life with us in this time and space. We are privileged to be part of such a race of creatures who have marveled at the miracle of birth, who have found meaning in the midst of life, and who stand humbly before the mystery of death. We are servants of life," he says, "and wish to be counted among those who will work for justice, love, and compassion." And that's the meaning of the church, I say. What I like about his statement is his emphasis on belonging. We belong to a great community of souls, he says. It is our privilege to be part of a great community of souls, to stand humbly, to be counted among a great community of souls. And in that belonging, the poet reminds us that that great community of souls expects something from us. To fight, to scream, to hope, to dream, to love and be loved, to give and to take. The poet says, "When I die, I want you to live, just to live." So today we collectively mourn and we collectively rejoice in a world that includes so much chaos and despair and struggle and things we didn't even imagine. But one thing we do know is that it includes us, community of all souls among the dead and the living. And so each year we do this together. We tread lightly on the human path of life and death, gain and loss, love and loneliness, despair and hope, and we try to see each other. Here in this community of all souls, while these people stare back at us through the ages, our family and friends, companions on this journey, we hold this fragile experiment of life together. And we do a few rituals. We light candles, we place photos, and we acknowledge those who mourn, and we acknowledge those who have died. And so I invite you now to help me bless all the mourners who are in our midst today. I want to invite all of you who are mourning the death of someone in your life who died in the last 12 months to stand as you are willing and able. And if not able, to raise your hands and take the hands of someone. If you are mourning the death of someone in the last 12 months, I invite you to rise as we see you and we speak to you. And if you who are standing wish to be stabilized in one way or another, feel free to request a hand from those near you. We speak to you who are risen here from our Jewish tradition, and I'll ask the rest of us to respond to this reading with the words, "We remember them." The blessing goes like this: bless our memories now as we remember them. That's what we say together. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are part of us as we remember them. Mourners, you who stand before us, let us be your ballast. We are here for you. We acknowledge you. We see you. We love you. Please be seated. And in this service, we name those members of the church who have died since All Souls last year, and we present to you their pictures here on the screens of the sanctuary. We name them first: Peggy Joe Cargile, Charles Austin Crow, Patricia Rhodes Williams Cookston Davidson, Carolyn Glenn, Frank Chip Hyder, Sally Jackman, Don Janik, Scotty McIntyre Johnson, Mona Magnus, Claude Anderson Andy McCullum, Gage Overton, Betty Ann Plumley, Campbell Burgess Reed, Jack Richards, Michelle Sandlin, Bill Fred Tucker, Ken Wardlaw, and Lois Wisman. And I invite you to now speak the names aloud of those who you brought into this sanctuary today, who you are remembering with a photo or with a candle or in your heart. Let us create a chorus of names and speak them into this sanctuary now. Let us join in prayer. Blessed are those who mourn and those who know loss. Blessed are those who know leftover love, those who may have lost trust in the world but find hope and seeds of remembrance and acts of friendship. Blessed are those mourners who stood in our midst, who rose to honor the passing of someone in their lives. Blessed are they who can be held by this community. May they know peace. Blessed are those who hold dearly to life, who know what it takes to tend what isn't ours for the having. Blessed are those who do not fear what we all must relinquish, but rejoice in life and its blessings. And blessed are those who mourn in the great cloud of witnesses we remember today. And let the people say, Amen.